Well, hello. Welcome back to another set of short reviews. This week, I finished the 200th album of this project. So I've listened to 200 albums so far this year, which is a lot. Today, I'm going to be reviewing albums 309 through 300, and we'll see how it goes. And album number 309 is Willy and the Poorboys by Creedence Clearwater Revival. So these are all classic songs that honestly stand up even today. And there's a sincerity that you can hear in the music that is refreshing to listen to. The album is a ton of fun, and I'm giving it a 3 out of 4. Number 308 is Songs for Swingin' Lovers by Frank Sinatra. So Frank Sinatra has a special place in my musical heart. I listened to a lot of his music when I was dating my wife, and all of these songs at some point have come through my musical selection over the years. So I knew all of them beforehand, and I love them. Sinatra to me is without peer in this genre. None of the other crooners or swing singers match his worldliness. They don't have his phrasing, and almost more importantly, none of them have his arranger. Nelson Riddle contributes equally to the brilliance of this incredible swing music. 4 out of 4. Next up, album 307 is A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. This album is a flawless example of what made and makes the Beatles great. Each of the songs is witty, memorable, singable, complex, and unique. And each one has something special to impart to the listener and has more to give on each repeat listen. A masterpiece and another must listen. 4 out of 4. Number 306 is Odelay by Beck. So this is kind of a strange album. It's kind of electro indie dub music. It's got a lot of sample based beats and layers of loops over the top. And then of course Beck's I guess creamy-ish voice, which is not bad to listen to. It's cool and moderately interesting, even though it's certainly not for everyone. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 4. Number 305 is Car Wheels on a Gravel Road by Lucinda Williams. Now, I don't like her voice, like, at all. But if you're looking for pretty solid alt folk, then this is a good album. And I'm going to give it a 2 out of 4. Number 304 is Grace by Jeff Buckley. This was a wow album for me. I'd never heard of Jeff Buckley before. This is apparently his first and only album. He died only a couple years after releasing this, which is a disappointment because this album is truly a masterpiece. It's evocative and sounds lean, and despite its age, sounds really, really nice. Buckley's voice is the standout of this album. It's somehow simultaneously delicate and powerful, and his voice combined with the strength of the songs works together to make this an absolute must listen. 4 out of 4. Album number 303 is John Wesley Harding by Bob Dylan. Okay, so every time I hear a new album, I do my best to set aside everything that I've heard from that artist before, give them a clean slate, and listen to it as objectively as possible. True objectivity is impossible. I've come to accept this. You should as well. But I do my best. However, Bob Dylan is running out of chances with me. The songs on this album are hopelessly generic, bland, and generally unimpressive. It may have ruined the harmonica for me forever. Dylan might be a good poet, but again, just having good words doesn't translate to being an effective or even a good or even a moderately listenable song. I'm tempted, honestly, to give this a 0, but I wouldn't even call them lyrics, but the poetry behind the words are above average, so I'm going to give this a 0.5 out of 4. Try again, Bob. Okay, number 302 is Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy. So I may have set myself up for a disappointment on this one just because I've heard so much about Public Enemy. I guess I had higher expectations, especially since we've been through several 4 out of 4 hip-hop albums this far. I don't think this album is as great as a lot of the other ones I've heard so far on this list. The beats have these interesting sound collages behind them, which occasionally is interesting, but more often just is kind of noise. Some, but not all of the rapping is good. Overall, not particularly striking. I'm going to give this a 1.5 out of 4. Number 301 is Coat of Many Colors by Dolly Parton. This album is surprisingly not terrible. It's fairly good country music with surprisingly edgy material for the genre. Dolly sings fairly twangily, but she has a good voice. It's passable. I don't think that it belongs this high on the list since we've had so many good country additions so far. But it was a fairly enjoyable listen, and I'll give it a 2 out of 4. And lastly, we have number 300, 200 albums into this project. Number 300 is Master of Reality by Black Sabbath. Now, I'm not a big Black Sabbath fan, and I don't particularly enjoy Ozzy Osbourne's voice, but for the genre and for the time that it was released, this is a pretty good heavy metal album. It took me like 2 songs to get used to the sound of the guitars. At first they sounded kind of a little fuzzy, not in a good way, but then once I cranked it up a little bit and just allowed it to be itself, I liked the sound of the music a little better. The songs themselves don't have a lot of range, but the album as a whole does, including a really nice acoustic instrumental about halfway through. That was a highlight for me. Worth a listen if you're a fan of rock music, classic rock, or heavy metal. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 4. And there we go, 200 albums into this project for the year. There's been so much good music and honestly quite a bit of terrible music. I don't really have too much to say in retrospect that I haven't already said. A lot of new music. Again, most of these artists I'd never listened to honestly before. It's a good amount of music. I feel like I'm getting a good musical workout this year. So I'm just looking forward to the next set, and I'm just going to take it 10 at a time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the albums that we've heard so far. I appreciate those of you who have sort of commented and let me know what your opinions are. Give me a thumbs up as always if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe because I'm going to keep uploading over the summer. And I'll see you in the next one.